Hi folks, it's Andy. Welcome to this week's Kendo Rant. Okay, so here we are for another fantastic week of questions. There's not so many this week. Not so many. I'm doing this show earlier again, earlier than I normally do. Normally I put it out on a Friday. This is a Thursday. So that might be one of the reasons we've got a few less questions. But send some more next week. So yeah, it could be a short and sharp, sweet show for you today. We'll get to them in just a minute. A couple of things first, you know, the YouTube stuff, like, share, subscribe, all that sort of thing. Most importantly though, support the channel by shopping at KendoStar.com. I know we keep saying this every week and it might be a first time watching, so that's why I'm saying it again. But just in case, shop at KendoStar.com. It's the best kendo equipment website in the entire galaxy. Now, of course, I would say that. I say it every week. I need a new line, don't I? Other than it being the best in the galaxy. I need to think about that. I'll think about that for next week, okay? It used to be like ring the Kendo bell. Now I'm like KendoStar's the best in the galaxy. I'll think of a new one for next week. But shop at KendoStar. It's my website, so of course I'd say it's brilliant. Everyone agrees with me, all right? We're the best. Everyone's probably shopping at KendoStar already in your dojo, so join them and buy from KendoStar.com. You get the best gear. We get to keep doing this. Everybody's happy. Okay, good. I know as well, the content I've been putting out has been a little bit slow recently. I have been super busy since basically the end of last year, so apologies for that too. As many of you know, I went over to Japan for a little bit of shugyo. And some business stuff too, but yeah, that sort of hindered me a little bit. Since I've been back, things have been crazy. I've been at some sort of kendo event every week. I've got one this week, got one next week, got one the week after. So I will be putting more effort into bringing you some more content too. That's coming very, very soon. Okay, that's enough preamble. Let's get to these questions. Okay, first one. This one was a YouTube comment, actually. So when you want to leave me questions, by the way, you can either comment them down below on YouTube, or you can get in the Kendo Show Early Access group. There's a link in the description. On Facebook, I put a post up every week there that you can put your questions on. Or you can send them to me like privately if you don't want to put them publicly, either by email, mail@KendoStar.com, or you can like DM me on Facebook. Lots of people do that. Facebook's the best one to do though. Don't send me DMs on Instagram or like any of those other ones. Definitely don't do it on LinkedIn. Sometimes people DM me on LinkedIn. I never open that thing. I never open it. I only sometimes open Instagram, okay? So stuff that I can do on a computer, not on a phone, is the best for me. Okay, so first question. Hello Andy, how are you? How have you been? I'm good. I've been great. I've just been talking about me for ages, so let's get on to you. It's so good to have you back with us again. Oh, thank you very much. The Kendo Show being on hold was too much, at least for me, but I think everyone thinks and feels the same as me. Welcome back. Oh, thank you. That's very, very nice of you. I think I only missed 1 week while I was away, but anyway, I appreciate you even feeling that. So thank you so much. My question is, the question I bring to you is, will you bring back the Shinai bag Busho? Will KendoStar be able to bring back that amazing bag? Since in the KendoStar we have the Busho Elite Kendo backpack, why did it stop being produced? The pair were amazing to have with the backpack. Thank you so much for everything you do and the Kendo videos you comment and explain to the Kendo rants, which brings so many questions for you and you always answer them. Yeah, well, that's what I'm here for. Strong health in these times of winter. Best regards from Sweden. I think it's pronounced Malmo, is that right? I don't know. Anyway, it's a Busho bag. The Busho backpack is awesome, isn't it? It's proper awesome. The Kendo backpack bushel. I know that's not what you're talking about, but I'm just going to share with you. I left mine in Japan. When I went over to Japan, I left my bushel bag there because I left a set of bulgur there, and I left my bushel bag there with it. And when I came back, I thought, just for experience, I'd try one of the other type of bulgur bags. And I'm using like one of the more simple ones at the minute. And it's fine, perfectly functional. Great little bulgur bag, compact. This sort of Boston style one. And obviously for the value for money, it's a great little bag. But I really miss the bushel bag. The bushel bag's so much, so convenient. It's got a lot more space in it, a lot more pockets. So when I get a chance, I'm gonna get myself another one of those. It's just they're selling super fast at the moment, so like I feel a bit guilty to take one from the stock for myself. So I'm gonna wait until we've got our next load of stock before I take one for myself. But yeah, I'm glad you like the bushel bulgur bag. The Shinai bag that we did to match it, we did a Shinai bag that was matching. I'm sort of on the fence about bringing that back at the moment. It was a great Shinai bag. I really liked it as well. And it matches the backpack. The cost to produce it went up quite considerably. Some of the parts of it were quite expensive. Shipping of it was quite expensive. And I wasn't sure if it was viable to continue as a product. But you're not the first person that's asked us to bring it back, so I'll give it some more thought. I'll sort of see what I can do about negotiating some better sort of costs on it, and see if we can get it to make a comeback. No promises, but I'll see what I can do. Okay. Next one. Hello, Fish Sensei. I recently achieved Yondan. Congratulations. And since started serving as Shinpan. With everything being shut down, I wasn't able to practice Shinpan much as a Sandan, at least in official context. What would you say are some common Shinpan shortcomings? I'm interested in problems with Reiki as well as problems with properly judging Yuko or Datotsu. I'm happy for this to be in Kendo RANT if you'd like to discuss there, but I understand you're tired of discussing Shinpan topics with all the new rules conversations. Thank you so much for your time. So obviously it's in Kendo RANT. I think this is a great question. I really do. There's a couple of things I think on it. First off, congratulations on getting your Yondan. It's a big step. It's quite a big barrier to jump over from Sandan to Yondan. It's much bigger than Nidan to Sandan. So well done. I think one of the things that a lot of people struggle with, now obviously with, like you say, with everything being shut down, I understand that you've not necessarily had the chance. But I think in general, people start to experience Shinpan far too late in the West. A lot of people are Sandan before they've ever even touched the Shinpan flags. So that in itself is a problem. I think people should start Shinpaning much, much earlier so that they can start to gain that experience and understand how it works. If you compare it to Japan, it's not unusual for sort of older, and I'm not talking at official tournaments necessarily, I'm just talking in sort of internal Shiai practices or in like practice Shiais and stuff like that. Kids sort of as young as 10 or 11 could be doing the sort of Shinpan for each other, as I say, just in the dojo or something like that. And I've seen it at practice Shiai and stuff like that for kids younger than them usually. They'll, like the junior high school kids or something like that who are like 12 to 15 something, might do Shinpan as well. High school kids, of course, have to do Shinpan for each other all the time. So I think part of the problem is a lot of us, we don't start doing Shinpan until it's far too late. Not too late, but it's just late that we're doing it. So of course, we might be Yondan, Godan, or even Rokudan. We'll actually have no experience really in Shinpan, especially as the number of Shiai or opportunities for Shiai in the West or outside of Japan is much, 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 much smaller. And there's much lower numbers of Shiai chances for you to do it. So definitely that's one thing. I think people should try and get involved in doing some kind of Shinpan, even at a very, very basic level, as early as they possibly can. And obviously they need the instruction of the seniors to help them get it right. But, you know, you need to develop that right from the beginning almost. Not the very beginning, but you know what I'm saying. And also, I think, you know, you say about problems with Reiki as well as problems with judging the Yuko Datotsu. The problems with Reiki, I think, are less egregious, should we say. I think generally, in my experience, like comparing the Shinpan between Japan and the West, generally the Reiki part or the movement part, staying in the triangle, stuff like that, on the average level, like in the average, you know, I'm not talking about at the elite level, but at a very sort of average level, generally in the West, that tends to be taken a little bit more, I wouldn't say seriously, but adhered to a little bit more strictly. I think it's because it's easier to remember, right? Because it's like kata, right? It's like written in black and white. You have to move in this way, you have to stay in this direction, you have to hold the flag at this angle and do stuff like that. There's exceptions, of course, don't, you know. Whereas the opposite is true with the sort of judging of Yuko Datotsu. The ability to judge Yuko Datotsu is much sort of more developed over in Japan. So even if you know, and I'm talking, like I say, I'm talking about like local tournaments, and I'm not talking about your All Japan tournaments. They're obviously brilliant in both respects, but you might see in a local Japanese tournament, then they might not be keeping a perfect triangle, or they might not be holding the flag at a perfect, you know, angle or arm straight or something like that. But their ability to spot and recognize the Yuko Datotsu is generally much higher than say if you were to go to a sort of more local tournament in, let's say, Europe, which is where I am. So that's the and let's be honest, that's the more important of the two. Yeah, that's the most important. That's what the Shinpan are there for, is to recognize and award the Yuko Datotsu. So look, in terms of the shortcomings, I'd say that I think I'm going to say something that's probably pretty controversial here, but this is just based off my experience. And I was having a conversation with somebody about that the other weekend, and I'm not going to obviously say who it is, but it's a Kendo guy I very much respect. And you know, talking about how there's one of the things that tends to happen is I think in order to be able to judge that Yuko Datotsu, you have to be actively doing Kendo yourself. It says that actually. It says that in the grading questions book. One of the answers is that the Shinpan has to also be doing Kendo, doing Keiko regularly, because otherwise you become unable. You know, you become unable to see the Datotsu. You know, I think that happens a lot. You know, people get to high grade and they don't really do Keiko that much. And it's also important to be involved in the Shiai. And I think there's a reason why the best Shinpan in the world have all had very kind of, I wouldn't say distinguished, because you don't necessarily have to be successful in the Shiai, but have had long Shiai careers in Shiai as well, and are often still participating in them. You know, I'm talking about 8th Dan senseis from Japan that referee the All Japan Championships, something like that, or the Todofuken, or those sort of all Japan level tournaments. You know, those guys have all been doing Shiai throughout their life, so they understand the whole process of the Shiai, and of course that links to their ability to Shinpan properly. When you have sort of people who they might have done Kendo for a long time, but they were never really the serious Shiai player or really cared about doing the Shiai, but just happened to get to the high grade. Of course, they're not going to be good at doing the Shinpan. I mean, that's obviously, you know, that's obvious. And if you don't do the keiko and you just, sometimes you see it as well, like where you'll have like a tournament and maybe they're struggling for Shinpan or something. I'm talking again, in the West really, but and some, they'll bring someone along that used to do Kendo years ago or something like that and hasn't done Kendo in 10 years or something, but and go, well, just Shinpan for us and get them to Shinpan. And of course they can't Shinpan, So I think to improve your Shinpan at your particular stage, the things you can do: attend keiko, do keiko, okay. Try to participate in the shiai as well as Shinpan. I'm not necessarily at the same tournament, but try to find the opportunity to join the shiai. And practice Mitori Geiko. I think one of the best things you can do as well to practice the Shinpan is like watch Kendo on YouTube as much as you can, and try and get a feeling for what it is that's been awarded as a valid strike and what's not, and how the shiai is run. One of the questions, I'm spending a long time on this question, I know, but we don't have that many questions today. So one of the things that people ask often, as you've mentioned on Kendo RANT, and I've seen it being asked sort of in real life as well when I've been doing Shinpan at a tournament, and when I've seen it as well, is like people still don't seem to get how these like new additions to the rules surrounding Subsidiary, stuff like that, seem to be being applied. But the problem is a lot of people are just they're watching the explanation video, or reading an explanation, or listening to an explanation at a seminar, or like maybe 10 minutes before a shiai starts, but not really understanding how it's supposed to be applied in real terms. And the way to learn that is to watch the top level Japanese shiai that are using those rules and get a feel for how those rules are supposed to be interpreted and applied. All right, rather than trying to decide that yourself. If you watch the All Japan Championships, watch the Todofuken, watch the Tozai Taiko, watch any of these level tournaments, and you'll see that the way that they apply these new rules, and how they're there as an example. All right. They're there as an example. So, when you get these questions sometimes come up, I think I talked about it previously as well. When you get these questions come up, it's like, well, why didn't the Shinpan do this? It's like, when you are watching it, don't look at it as why did they do it wrong when I know I'm right? Treat them as the example. And if it's different to what you thought, maybe address the way you thought about it rather than trying to challenge that to think that that's wrong. If that makes sense. I'm sure you'll do great though anyway. All right. I wouldn't worry too much. You haven't had much chance up to now. You'll do fantastic. No doubt about it. Okay. Good luck with it. Okay. 2 more to go. Okay, I have a Shinsa later this month. I'm trying for Ikkyu. Unfortunately, I caught a bad case of influenza in January and missed several practices, and now I still don't have all of the Bokuto as I memorized. I know them and can do them, but I don't quite remember all of them yet, and the order they're in. Any advice for memorizing these on my own? I don't have another person to practice with outside of class. Yeah, so I assume you're probably doing your grading in Japan, because for Ikkyu in Japan, you have to do the Bokuto ni yoru Kihon waza keiko ho rather than the Nippon Kendo kata. So the best, I mean, yeah, there's plenty you can do. There's a book you can get, or you can watch the videos on YouTube to look how you're supposed to do them in the order that they're in. And you don't need a partner to practice those. You don't need a partner to practice the Bokuto ni yoru Kihon waza keiko ho. You can practice both sides by yourself. Absolutely. So what I would do is either get the book or go on YouTube and then write down the order that they're in, and then get to an open space, so it's in your back garden or whatever, wherever. And if you're in Japan, you could do this in a local park. No one's going to care. Don't do it in like America or something. But you know, or even if you don't have a lot of ceiling space, do it without the book door. Just do it with your hands, you know, and just go through the pattern and try to repeat it until you remember the order of them. I think that's the only way you can do it. The only way you're going to memorize those is by practice. Do you know what I mean? There's no shortcut. So obviously it's unfortunate you got the influenza, but nobody cares about that on the day of the grading. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't mean that to sound harsh, but like, there's nowhere to say, oh, I got the flu, so can you give me a little bit of leeway? There's nowhere to do that, right? So that's the fact of the matter. So to overcome that, I think the best thing to do is just practice it by yourself, man. Just do that. I think you'll be fine. I think you'll be fine. Last one. I have a tournament coming up for the first time after passing Shodan. Do you have any tips for doing well in the Shodan Nidan group? Yeah. So I don't know if this is the first time you're doing any Shiai or not. But the first thing I'd say to anyone who asks me for advice on what they should do in the Shiai, is first thing is make sure your voice is louder than everybody else's. That's what I always thought. When I very first started competing, you know, my very first Shiai, I came out of a very sort of small dojo that was relatively unknown. Well, it was totally unknown even in the UK, which isn't it's not a massive Kendo community. Well, no one had heard of my dojo, even. So I knew that, like, nobody knew who I was or what I could do or anything like that. And I didn't really know either because it was my first event. And I just decided to myself, well, if nothing else, I can shout louder than them. I can shout louder than the other person. So the first thing is that, right? Just, you know, use the best voice you can. And then I'd say just, you know, try your best to win, but don't lose your mind. Yeah, don't go crazy. And like, some people get a little bit swept away, and it gets a bit bonkers, you know. So, you know, make sure you stick to doing your Kendo and not just violence, Boryoku, as it's called. Yeah, proper Kendo. But do your best to win. Okay, there's nothing else I can say. You know, if you want to learn some waza, go and watch the videos I did from the seminar How to Win Shiai. But you know, whipping out waza for the first time in the middle of a Shiai, you know, have a go at them in Jigeko or something first with your peers. See how you get on. Especially some of those tricks for kote, stuff like that. They'll be handy. Probably not so much with Gyakudo, to be honest. But yeah, I think that's the best you can do. And just go and do your best. And don't get caught up on the result either. Just try your best to win. And if you don't worry, because you don't die or something, and you don't lose anything. You just it's a bit embarrassing and you lose a bit of pride because you want to win, but that's the worst that happens. You know what I mean? So don't over pressure yourself. Okay, that's something I struggle with a lot. And there we go. We're at the end. Okay, slightly shorter episode, but some fantastic questions nonetheless. Thank you very much for joining me. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, shop at KendoStar.com, and leave a comment down below with maybe a question, or join the Kendo Show Early Access group and leave a question in there, whatever. And we'll do the show again next week. I've got Kendo analysis videos coming again. They should be coming to you next week. I haven't had time to do them this week. Hopefully, fingers crossed, I'll get to do them next week. If not, it will definitely be the week after. I just came back from Japan. Then I went over abroad to a Kendo event somewhere else in Europe, and then I'm away again this weekend in Europe, and then again next week away in Europe. So I've got sort of short weeks in the office at the minute. But the week after that, I should have a bit more time. So I'll definitely be back to doing the Kendo analysis videos too. I've got some on the list ready to go. I've got more content coming to the Kendo Show as well. I've got a kata video in the works. That's going to be good. As well as more stuff 2, keep your eyes peeled. Make sure you're subscribed. Shop at KendoStar. Don't think I said that yet. See you next week. Bye-bye.